Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fellowship of Fans' first ever Dune related discussion video. Today, I am joined with Mr. Strider. How you doing, Strider?
Hey, cool, cool. I was looking forward to discussing the world of Dune for a while now. I think we didn't get the chance to really talk about the movies, but I guess we'll touch on them now. So that's really cool. Yeah, happy to discuss this. What about you? How are you?
Doing pretty good, doing pretty good. And just to echo what you said, I'm really excited to talk about Dune. And what better way to start than to talk about our first exposure to Dune? What was your first foray? Did you read the books? Did the movies from Denis pull you in, or the original Dune movies from the '80s, I believe? What was your exposure?
Yeah, I did see the 19, I think it's 1984, or 1980s anyway, movie several times when I was a kid, and it dragged on, but it was cool because it was like this sci-fi with this like weird worms and like blue-eyed people and stuff. Like it looks weird, and then when you're a kid, it's easy to get interested in it. But it would drag on, but then again, you wouldn't have that many options. It's not like the age of Netflix now, where okay, I'm just gonna find the perfect thing I want to watch. So I watched a lot of that. I think I saw some of those mini, like TV series, like series, whatever. There was several of those. I didn't read the books, but I was quite excited for this actually, for Mr. Villeneuve, Dune movies, and yeah, like the first part was cool. I did, you know, as everybody, I was like, okay, this is a bit boring, but I was aware of the fact that it's like right in the middle of the story. So I knew that part two will probably pay this off really well. And they did it. They pulled it off. I enjoyed part two quite a bit. It is one of the best movies this year as well. I mean, might be the best movie this year. There's a couple of contenders, but it's up there, and I wouldn't be surprised if it like wins a bunch of Oscars and stuff. But I watched a lot of videos on Dune lore after after part two, and yeah. So now I know stuff about it, but like I'm by no means anything resembling any kind of lore expert. So it's still all very new. So whatever's happening here in the show, I have no idea. Is this like canon? Is it not canon? And so on. So yeah, overall, it's like just like basically not the books, but through the movies and TV shows, I kind of know some stuff. I did. I'm going on here. I'm going to stop, but it's a funny story. First time I had corona, I had fever, like 39.5 degrees Celsius. I don't know what's that in your units over there, but it's like really high temperature for like 2 weeks, like really high temperature. And I remember the one of those Dune miniseries was on TV, and I was basically hallucinating that that was happening in my room where I was watching it. So I had a great time actually. I kind of had like probably a very Dune experience when you consider the spice and everything. So in that way, I'm probably ahead of some of the viewers because I thought it was actually happening for a bit. Yeah. Anyway, back to you. What was your? Can you top this experience? Can you try to top my experience?
Well, I haven't had any spice yet, but maybe one day. Yeah, kind of similar to you with the Dune experience. My dad actually was a big fan of the Dune movies from the '80s, so I'm sure as a kid I saw it. But I was one of the kids that gravitated towards Star Wars, which my dad also exposed me to around that time. So I kind of dove into Star Wars lore. But yeah, when Denis, I can't even pronounce his name correctly, but um, when the announcement of Dune coming out and some of the production shots were released, I was like, oh, this looks like something I'm gonna really enjoy. And I kind of dove into the first movie. I actually really liked it. I did hear a lot of the feedback that it was It was kind of a slower pace, but for me, I don't mind that for world building. Like I like to kind of just sit in the world, get to know the places, and so I didn't mind that it wasn't as actiony. And from like all the Dune nerds around me, they're like, "Oh, Dune Part Two is going to be all action," so just like get ready for that. So I was like, I had something to look forward to. Um, and I did see that in theaters, and then between so we're Fellowship of Fans, so we're big into Tolkien and Lord of the Rings. The two reasons why I bought an OLED TV for my house was one, the Dune movies, and two, Rings of Power, since there's they have HDR, Dolby Vision,
Yeah.
and it's totally worth it. So if anyone's on the fence, the Dune movie might be best viewed with an OLED TV. Um, so yeah, the movies remain, and I have been reserving. I plan on buying hardback books of the at least the first three Dunes from Frank Herbert. I plan on doing that after the prophecy's done because I want to just experience the show with as little spoilers as possible. So I'm doing
Mm.
that, and then uh, good segue into more exposure I received. I got Fellowship of Fans invited me to uh, New York Comic Con. So we were there covering War of the Rohirrim, which is coming out this December. And while I was there, I happened to get a chance to go to the Dune Prophecy panel, and I was sitting pretty dang close, and I was loving everything. They showed us an exclusive clip, a trailer before it was released, and some. This is some of the photos I've took. So yeah, you got some of the cast right there. Um, that was the big screen, so close to IMAX size screen there, and great sound system. That's the entire panel. So you had producers, you had a majority of the cast was there. You have, let me see, I'm gonna pull up the character list so I don't mess this up. But we did have both the um, younger version of Mother Superior, Valia Harkonnen. She was there all the way to the left. I might have a photo in the folder of a close up, and maybe we'll get to that in a second. Um, the other version of Valia was there as well, Emily Watson. I think she's closer in the photo to where I was sitting. I believe Tola Harkonnen was there, Olivia Williams. Oh, there's a close up. Yep. So there's the young version of Valia, and sitting next to her, I believe was it Tilla, a sister Leela, um, played by Chloe Leia. She was sitting next to him, and then next to her was the actor um, Josh Houston, who played Constantine Carino, which I believe is an illegitimate child of um, the Emperor, right? The Emperor
Nico.
Javico. Yep.
Right.
Um, and then yeah, I think there might be one more photo that kind of shows some more of the panel. But yeah, it was a exciting time. Everyone in the crowd was super excited. The trailer showed like the expansive world, and I definitely got really hyped up from it. And then here we are. We got to see two episodes so far. Um, so maybe we can dive into overall thoughts so far, the first two episodes and Dune Prophecy, like talk about tone, um, acting, just kind of high level. So yeah, Strider, what do you think so far overall of the first two episodes?
Okay. The first episode was a bit slower, but you kind of have to expect these things, especially with these shows. They're trying to cover these big, like plotting and political things going on across like a big country, or like in this case, like this. interplanetary imperium. So with these stories, the pace usually starts slower because they have to like introduce everything. You gotta have to like get to know these couple of different planets, these couple of different families, and so on and so on. So it kind of it's not easy to start off with like a bang. I feel like I think it also makes sense because they started with like this Bene Gesserit sisterhood is in the core, so they also had to like start with explaining them and so on, and it is what it is. So I was like, okay, I was not shocked or surprised in any way that the first episode is a bit slower. So, but still, I'm not maybe in the proper mindset and so on, so it didn't really take me right away. But by the end of episode two, when my favorite character gets some things to do, and he's my favorite character because of the actor playing him. And I just decided he's my favorite character. Whatever he's doing before I played episode one, I was like, this is my favorite character. I'm rooting for him, whatever he's doing. But by the end of this episode two, there are actually some proper like the more direct development, and actually it took me in. Like I'm a bit hooked now. Like I'm actually looking forward to see what's going to happen in episode three. So overall, slower start, but not surprising given simply all the circumstances of such a big story. And then I think there's some good performances. I'm curious where the character arcs are going for all of them. Like I have no idea where any of these character arcs are going to take us, but I feel like the cast is pretty strong. Like that, there's talented people here. Like Emperor is played by a very, very good actor. So I mean, this man has been all over TV and cinema for a couple decades now. So yeah, I by the end of episode two, they kind of got me. I'm in for the ride. So that's like the overall impression. That we can discuss the details a bit more. But what about you?
Yeah. So similar boat. Like I'm definitely hooked. I would say since the panel I've been hooked. I had a strong feeling that the show could be great. It's only 2 episodes in, so we'll see how if they can stick the landing and all that. My
Mhm.
one kind of like critique right now, which could be more so headcanon, like I can't even like who know like maybe this is book accurate, but the Bene Gesserit school to me, the tone kind of seems a little off. I can't really put my finger on what it is, but it feels like this is gonna sound crazy, but like almost like Hogwartsy or like
But not
almost
as
like
fun.
Bridger. Yeah, it's like Bridgerton esque. Like something's like a little off with it for me, but I'm sure as it gets darker throughout the season, I'll warm up to it. But that was my only gripe so far. Is like the tone felt a little weird with that part of the storyline. Like I was kind of, I guess I was expecting more like regal characters, like more mysterious, but it's almost like they're in high school. So that was just my like small complaint, but everything else like blown away. The CGI, the landscapes, the acting so far has been great. There hasn't been anything that really pulled me out of the story. The voice, the use of the voice in this. Oh god, there's one that was like super. I had my sound system blasting and it scared the crap out of me. So I love how they're using the voice. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, I think
overall, like
you're watching this in like proper conditions, so I feel like you probably have even better impression than I do.
yeah, highly like I whenever it's appropriate, like I highly recommend everyone find like the most budget sound system like possibly can get. Because yeah, it's a game changer with watching at home. It's just so immersive. But yeah, highly recommend when the timing's right. And you'll probably get proper scares from it. Um, uh, but yeah, so overall, like it's looking pretty good, and you kind of alluded to it. So I think the next topic we can talk about is standout characters so far? Like, who are you most interested in, most rooting for, um, most concerned about potentially? Like, oh, they might be plotting something. Even they could be a small character that you're like, I think they could turn into something bigger later on. So yeah, who are you watching out for or rooting for?
Give me just a sec. Maybe you can say because I just need to do something here with
Okay,
the technical stuff.
perfect.
So
Yeah, I
maybe
could start.
you can just start off.
It's interesting because we all know now the if you've seen the movies, read the books, that Paul Atreides isn't really a hero necessarily. He's kind of shows the corruption of power and where that could lead you. But for some reason, I find myself rooting for Tyrion Atreides. He's got kind of a lower level character right now in the series, but he's doing things, I believe, with Princess Nez, um, Emperor's daughter. If I am remembering my characters correctly, there is a lot of characters. Um, Seems like that's going to be an interesting storyline because you got that. You have the Fremen spy with the Bene Gesserit Michaela, I believe is her name, which is also
Mhm.
kind of it's kind of creating an interesting storyline there. So very interested in that front of where that story is going to play out. Um, Other than that, looking through the characters, I did like. We're kind of going. I guess I'll just kind of jump through some of the storylines before we get into the episodes. But I do like how the Empress, I believe, is more so in episode 2, was kind of showing her power and her knowledge against her husband. Just like, no, that's a bad idea. You should be doing this. I like that. So that was Empress Natalia, played by Jodie May. Um, let's see. I think there's one more standout. Oh, the Emperor. Yeah, the Emperor would be up there as well. Like you mentioned, Mark Strong spending a lot and playing the Emperor. Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at right now. Um, yeah, how about you?
So for me, the character I was talking about is none other than Mr. Ragnar Lodbrok. This gentleman here, right here. Um, I mean, just to be clear, there is as we have both said, there's a lot of cool performances so far. There's like it's a strong cast. Like for example, as you said here, we have the emperor, his illegitimate son, and the queen, all played by really cool actors. Um, so I'm actually very curious where Mark Strong's character, the emperor, where he will go, because he starts kind of like on a back foot. Like people, in terms of authority, people are saying stuff. People are telling him what to do in a way. Like you can see that he is, he has a brain. He's trying to think through things for himself, but he is being told what to do in many ways. In many situations, he changes his mind and he's being influenced by his wife, by how they call it, truth sayers.
Yep, true
Yeah.
say. Yeah,
So
yep.
his truth sayer and then dies in at the end of episode 1, and so on and so on. So, but I really liked the Empress. I think she has a lot of charisma to her. I feel like the actress is really conveying this really interesting level of like her own intellect, and it's, at least so far it feels like she is in her husband's corner. So I thought that was okay. That's pretty good. Um, yeah. But then for me, the next person is, as I said, and now I can go back because I gave some. I gave the chance to. I talked a bit about other characters, so now I can talk about the one I want to talk about the most. Um, and that is, yeah, Mr. Desmond. How's he called?
Is it Desmond Strong?
Desmond Krell, I think.
Oh,
Well, anyway,
oh, Desmond Hart.
this fellow here, and I was really curious what his role is going to be. Because again, we don't know. We are not from this world. Like both of us, we haven't really read the books. We don't know how it how the world works properly. So it's like, what is the setup here? Who are the types of characters that we will get? Okay, we'll get the Emperor, we get some of the sisters, but like to get like this, I want to say random. He's not random because I think the Emperor knew of him, but like still, this a soldier who then has been eaten by the worm and then spit out or whatever happened to him. It's like that is a wild thing that you wouldn't think of. Like you wouldn't expect this. So I feel
Yeah.
like his character arc was, or like the beginning of his character arc and like this mystery around him, it's actually really cool. And as I said, I'm a big fan of Mr. Travis Fimmel, who played Ragnar Lodbrok in The Vikings. It's one of the most charismatic performances I've ever seen in any TV show. He is iconic as that character, and I'm really happy that he's one of starring in one of the shows of this size again, and it's really cool. So for me, he has been the standout. But I feel like there was a lot of cool characters. The sisters are beginning to interest me more and more. But I feel like also I can put this on screen as well. So this whole situation with the wedding and like everybody involved with the wedding. So the princess, the kid, I think his name is Pruvet or something like that. And then the other family. It's interesting. I feel like it's not on the scale of everything we expected from based on everything that the movies gave us, because the movies are obviously on a gigantic epic scale. But I feel like there's a lot of interesting stuff happening so far, and I kind of did get hooked, especially towards the end of episode 2, when we get this clash between Desmond and Mother Superior. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so I kind of wandered around a lot. I'm not sure what was the original question, like the standout characters, I guess. But
Yep.
yeah,
Favorite characters. Yep.
that's it basically.
All right. Yeah. So we'll kind of walk it back now, and we'll kind of
Mm.
discuss. We'll try to discuss each episode separately, but I'm sure storylines are going to bleed together. So we'll see what we can do here. So walking back to episode one, one point I wanted to make um, was kind of the prologue scene where they showed the what do they call it? Machine thinking machines. That's what they're calling them.
Mm.
That scene, like, so this is something I feel like it's been happening a lot with shows. I can say for certain, because Fellowship of Fans, we cover Rings of Power. Rings of Power, season one had an epic prologue where it showed the two trees, which is a massive symbol from the Silmarillion, which was something we never expected seeing on screen. So I saw that plus the epic battles that they showed in the montage at the beginning. I was like, wow, this part of Middle Earth, this timeline is amazing. I wish I could see more of it. And then you get like, I guess I'll call it present day for Rings of Power, which is the second age stuff. Similar thing happened here with Dune, where you see this shot of these epic thinking machines and these massive battles. Like, dang, I want to see more of this. So hopefully, we'll get a prologue to the prologue and get a series on this battle, which it's something. Wasn't it called like a jihad or something? I wish I knew.
Baltharian Jihad.
But yeah, so like I would love to see a series on that, and maybe we'll get that in the future or in future seasons, more flashbacks. But episode one started with this, and I was like, oh, I want to see more. Um, and then from that, we got Mother Superior Raquella dying, but before dying, showing a vision, a kind of premonition similar to what we saw with Paul Atreides and that whole prophecy. But it's called the Terran Arafel, um,
Mm.
which shows the upcoming tyrannical disaster. We see the burning body for a quick second. Um, And then from there, I believe we got the scene where the young Valia actually used the voice on her granddaughter and successor to kill her, basically, which was pretty intense. I was not expecting that, like the sisterhood kind of going against each other. So what I feel like the show is doing is it's kind of setting up characters where it's hard. It's like they're in gray area. Like, who's the hero? Like, do we really want to root for someone who killed, their sister in quotes? Um,
Mm.
and Desmond, your character as well. I guess we'll get to that later on, talking about episode one, but he does some pretty insane things with the I guess you can call him the prince. And yeah, but is he doing something for the greater good of the universe? Like it's tough questions. Yeah, what are your thoughts on kind of the opening of episode 1 where we got the prologue, then we got that pretty intense scene with the young Valia?
Um, yeah, I think it was interesting. I was very curious because as I said, I watched some of these lore videos, and I actually watched quite a lot. I was, you watch a cool movie, cool TV show, then it like just overtakes your personality for the next 2, 3 weeks. I had that happen with like Mad Max Fury Road for like the 15th time a couple months ago, and then Dune and so on. So I watched it, and I knew of Batarian Jihad, and then um, it was nice to see this on a flashback. So I liked it. I liked this. I'm not sure if I like the fact that the show is so focused on the sisterhood, because at least for now, I mean, I guess that's the whole point of the show, to kind of show us more of this organization. But I'm not sure if it's actually going to be. I'm not sure if I will end up completely enjoying this storyline particularly. So the fact that they opened with their stuff, I was never interested in them. Like it felt. I mean, they are interesting within the universe. They're a cool part of the universe, but it feels like one of these things where maybe it's more fun if I don't really know the details.
Hmm.
Like it kind of demystifies it. I don't know. I think I said it properly, but maybe I didn't. So I feel like that was but still, I think it was a cool opening, and yeah, interesting. And I'm impressed that you remember the name of the thing. Can you say it again? The thing that's about to happen.
Thing that's about to
Prophecy.
happen. Oh, Taryn Arafel,
Yeah,
if
well
I'm
done.
pronouncing it correctly. Yes.
Yeah, but yeah. So overall, I think it was cool. I think I enjoyed it. Pretty nice.
Yeah, yeah. And from there we'll have to see where the Bene Gesserit takes us. And then we fast forward 30 years, and Valia becomes Mother Superior, and she starts unrolling a couple of plots. Um, One of those plots is to actually strengthen the Carino bloodline through the marriage of Princess Ness and the younger Pruitt, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Um, what are your thoughts on that arranged marriage, Strider?
Yeah, that was interesting. That you see something like this, like he is much younger. Um, I don't know. Interesting thing. Like this is not new. Like political alliances are just how it is. So it was an interesting thing, and I didn't expect that whole thing with like his little frog or what it was. What was it? Like that little. lizard maybe thing. I thought that was all a very interesting plot line, I guess. Um, yeah, the kid was. I think the kid did a good job actually, being kind of out of his depth. But I don't know. It was always a
Yeah.
strange little thing, but I think it worked out. It was an interesting thing to kick off the whole thing, and then I guess it takes us deeper into this politics. Like it starting with a wedding is probably, and then the wedding going turning sour is a good way to start off this whole political um thing that is about to unravel, I guess. What do you think?
Yeah, and kind of had two parallels, dare I say it, to Game of Thrones, because you think of the
Yeah,
Red Wedding where there's two families that are at odds with each other. See a little bit of that. We also see a young marriage. I can't remember her name, and it's killing me right now. But
Sansa.
Lady, not Sansa. The actress ended up going into The Last of Us, but she played like a very young ruler. Uh,
Mormont,
Yeah, I think Lady Mormont. That sounds right. I think that sounds
Lady
right.
Mormont, but I
Um,
forgot her name. Lyanna Mormont. I think that's her name. She got her name from Ned Stark's sister. Anyway, Lady Lyanna Mormont, I think.
yep. So kind of imagery like similar, young rulers and yeah, and this scene kind of helps. I guess you could reverse that. The prologue kind of contextualizes this scene because everyone's freaking out over a tiny like lizard frog thing, but based on the context of the prologue, we see how dangerous the thinking machines can be. I believe we also know now that the Sisterhood has their own computer to help keep track of this like gene organization um, to strengthen bloodlines. So it's very interesting how everyone's preaching to get away from the thinking machines, and then the Sisterhood actually technically has one to help
Mm.
take over its future. So I found that an interesting parallel. Um, the actor who plays we'll get more fluent on the characters. You gotta give us a little bit of uh lax here. Duke Ferdinand. He kind of plays a very good grieving father. If I jump ahead a little bit, but yeah, I kind of find this whole their family's a little bit mysterious to me right now because I have not read the books. If they're in the books, I'm not sure where the storyline's going to go, but it does seem like they're plotting to take over the emperor. If I had to guess, but yeah, looking ahead, I'm just jumping around a bit, a little scattered. Yeah, this wedding unfortunately ends in tragedy, um, where your favorite character enters and kind
Jasmine.
of burns them from the inside, apparently. And interesting magic at play there because based on how the show's presenting it, he was right in front of the kid as he burned the kid alive, which was a pretty shocking scene. But he also, I guess, across space
Yeah,
time, was able to burn sister um,
Tasha or something like that.
Kasha. Yep, Reverend Mother Kasha. Um,
Tasha.
and yeah, so that's interesting. I don't know if we call it magic or what, but we
I mean,
haven't
it's like
seen
these,
that
I
yet.
guess, psychic abilities that they have, but it's basically works kind of like magic, I guess.
Magic, yeah, it's like yeah. So I'd be curious to see how this plays out because he's a pretty strong character now, with strong abilities. Um, yeah. Now, I guess question to ask you because he's one of your favorite interesting characters. Do you see him right now as a evil character, or is the act he just committed, burning a child alive, and the Reverend Mother Kasha alive, could that be for the greater good of this Dune universe? What are your thoughts there?
Ragnar can do no wrong. It was justified. The kid asked for it. He was having this little thing. He was causing this chaos in the Empire. He asked for it. It is what it is. He had to do what he had to do. I'm sorry, but it is what it is. Uh,
There's our
no,
clip.
I mean, the kid asked for it. Honestly, he was just very bad. Almost like Joffrey Baratheon. No, I mean, I think it's hard to, jokes aside, obviously kids didn't deserve to die, and I'm like the consequences of this are probably going to be huge. Uh, I think, well, that's the mystery. I'm really curious where this character is going to go, where this whole storyline is going to go. I'm really, really curious. It's very strange that this guy, like, he must be a huge anomaly. I think that we are yet to see actually how the Bene Gesserit are going to be or reacting to his appearance, because he will be treated like, what did they call Paul in the movie? Abomination, something like
Oh
that,
yeah.
So, because the men aren't supposed to have these things, I think. Like, I think men are just not physically capable to have this. That's why it's a big thing when Paul comes about, because he's like the product of this mixing of the bloodlines that enables him as a man to be able to do this. I think that's kind of how it is. Maybe
Hmm.
someone in the comments will correct us. Please do if you know better. So I feel like his character is going to be like by far number one enemy of Bene Gesserit throughout the story. At least that's my expectation. But I think it's a very curious setup. I don't know if we want to jump to like what happens at the end, or we want to savor it a little bit and then maybe go back to that later. What happens between him and the Reverend Mother or Mother's Superior, whatever.
I think we could probably jump to one of the major scenes of season two, and maybe we'll cap it off with that. The only if I said season, I meant episode two.
Episode, yeah.
Um, um, the only from my memory of episode two, the only other major scene that happened was the agony scene, which was the sisterhood had to make the difficult decision to put I don't know if she's the great granddaughter of the original
I think just granddaughter. I think just
granddaughter granddaughter of the Mother Supreme, Superior. We'll get these names right at
gave
one
her like
point.
5 names.
Oh God, turning them into McDonald's menu items. Um, but yeah, so they put her through the agony. There's interesting relationship between her and Revlin Mother Tula as well, because she said that she treated her like a daughter and she thought of her as a mother. Um, agony, she wasn't really technically ready for that. Goes through the process, sees her relatives in this crazy, horrific, like vision world. I don't even know how to describe that.
Mm.
And then from there, she learns the horrible secret that Valia killed her mother, right? Mother, if I remember
I
correctly,
guess
either her mother, her grandmother. And
I was a bit
yeah, so
confused by
like,
that. Yeah.
yeah, so that's something I gotta probably brush up on. I thought I was following it, but yeah, not totally sure right now. But yeah, so what did you think of that scene? Like the imagery of like seeing you know the family lineage and that crazy dream state. Like what? Yeah,
Yeah.
what were your overall thoughts?
I that was weird, but like, the cool, scary cool kind of weird, which it was meant to be. It was, yeah, it's an interesting So the way all of this stuff works, as far as I understand, like so the women are capable of connecting with all these. I mean, I don't know if that's maybe something that will develop by the time of Dune, because it's like 10,000 years earlier compared to the movies. But as far as I understand, so men are for some reason not able to connect with all the men before them, but like the women are able to connect with all the women that came before them, at least by the time when the movies are happening. So maybe at this time, this is still not a huge thing, or it's maybe just this reverend Mother Superior, whatever, like the main lady of the Bene Gesserit. I think, or maybe she just can do it, and then if these other sisters are doing it, maybe that's why it's called the agony. It's like really hard for them to do it. So anyway, this representation, all these shadows of people around her, I think these are all her female ancestors, and how would you represent this on a screen? Like, how would this experience look like? So I feel like it was quite appropriate in a way to be like in this locked cave and or like this tight cave and like these shadows swirling around. I thought it was interesting. I think it was done in a pretty interesting way. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And I was trying to Google real quick the lineage, and I think uh, Dorothea, if I'm pronouncing that right, is Leela's mother, I
Huh?
believe. So yeah, that hopefully, if I'm incorrect, correct us in the comments below for sure, because we want to get this right for for our next episode. But that's what it's looking like right now. Um, yeah, and then from this, I guess the major scene that we get from episode two is the face off between Mother Superior Valia and Desmond, and we get to kind of see the power struggle and pretty epic face off where she's using the voice and he's able to actually not be affected by it. Really, he's able to block it. Was that a shock to you? And what do you think the repercussions are to something like that?
So just for anybody wondering if we are like a bit confused today, we are having some very wild technical difficulties. So I'm trying to put like a photo between the two of them, but it's just a struggle. So we're just gonna put him because he's really cool. Um, yeah, I did not expect that. I think that was a really cool moment actually. To have this duel between the two of them and her trying to get him to kill himself basically. Um, it was the moment she tried to kill him, I was like, no way, he's gonna get out of it. And then he started putting the knife to his throat, and then it's like, oh, and then he manages to get it down to resist. And then you can see the horror on her face because this must be like a huge precedent. Like there shouldn't be a person who's capable of resisting her specifically. And the fact that this man can suddenly do this, it's really crazy. And then we did hear this prophecy from this scene, Agony, the scene with Agony. We did hear the prophecy of this guy who was born twice, once from blood, once from sand or from the worm. I don't know which one they said, but it's him. It's Desmond, and I really enjoy that, and that was the thing that hooked me. Like, so this final part of episode two was the thing. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm in. I want to see where this is going, and yeah, I really like it, and I'm happy Travis Fimmel is getting a chance to be a badass once again. It's just really cool, and I cannot figure out. I think he kind of reminds me a little bit of Chris Hemsworth's Thor. I feel like this weird, laid back, dangerous charisma of Thor from like the later movies in the MCU. I feel like there's a little bit of an overlap, which is also cool because I love that Thor. So that's cool. What about you?
Yeah, I agree, and it's kind of funny you said like laid back too, because at the New York Comic Con panel, the actor playing Desmond, he was like very laid back and chill, and like you would have no idea that he's playing this like overpowered character in Dune. So he does, yeah, it's a great job. Like it's a good actor when you see him as one thing in the real world, and then see the characters they can play. It's pretty insane. But yeah, similar to you, I think that's one of the main reasons why we wanted to do episode 1 and 2 together for our first discussion. Is I feel like episode 1 was kind of building up to something, and it did have pretty shocking cliffhanger at the end. But like, I feel like now we're given a lot to discuss and a lot to look forward to. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to like how are they gonna how is this gonna work in this world with this guy that's super powerful who can basically kill people from vast distances away, not be
It's
affected
an
by the
insane power.
voice. Yeah, he's very overpowered right now. So I'd be curious to see how, like, we know the sisterhood survives and ends up 10,000 years later with Paul Atreides and all that. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. And I think on that note, we can leave this discussion on a cliffhanger, and yeah, we'll kind of talk about the. We'll close this episode with our. I'll start with you, Strider, with your what was like your least favorite thing, and then your favorite thing so far in episode 1 and 2, and then we'll go from there.
Um, the least favorite. I mean, I feel like and it's not surprising because this is a TV show. Even though TV shows have really pushed boundaries in recent years, Mr. Villeneuve is not doing the shows, and I assume there's like a smaller budget song. So it's like I didn't always feel I was in this Dune movie universe. But I do think that they overall still do a pretty good job because to like really transfer that scale, I don't know, it's not that easy, though I think they should be possible to pull it off. And they do for the most part. But there were these moments and then paired with that I didn't start off caring about. Like basically I was like, Travis Fimmel is playing this really cool soldier dude in Dune. I'm gonna watch that. This is my ticket. This is what made me get the proverbial ticket for the show. you know. So it's the shows does start off on like a back foot for me because I wasn't sure if I was really interested in watching this, besides being overall interested in the Dune universe. So that was like the least favorite thing was there were some things I just didn't really I don't care about at the moment, but I'm starting to care, which is a good thing. And then the coolest thing is actually indeed the thing I was hoping for, which is Travis Fimmel having this really cool character who has this really big mystery behind him. And I'm looking forward. Also, I think the cast, especially most of the main characters, I feel like are very strong actors. So I really did enjoy seeing them on screen, their roles, even if I didn't care about their characters from the get-go. Like I feel like the actors are making the show quite good and interesting so far. I'm happy we have an Atreides as well in the cast. We didn't talk about him yet that much, but we will. We'll get back to that in the next episode. So overall, yeah, I guess the cast is so far pulling the show forward, which I think is pretty cool. And again, I'm very happy with Travis Fimmell's character so far. I thought that this particular scene at the end was really good. So this scene was actually the best thing about the show so far, and it pays off the setup from all this build up in episode 1 and 2. It pays it off with this clash at the end. So that was the best thing for me. A bit of a weird, complicated answer, but I got there in the end. What about you?
Yeah, for me, if I was to start with least favorite, like I'll say there's like certain areas where I mentioned kind of earlier in the discussion about the tone being a little off to me, and I don't know if that's my head canon or what. Um, but like some things that come to mind, like I mentioned the school sometimes like it wasn't what I was expecting, and then the other tone area I was just thinking about was like the nightclub scenes. Like when I see like shows have like nightclub scenes, you know, you can think of like the Star Wars where there was like nightclub scenes and other shows similar. And it's just like I wasn't expecting that in the Dune universe, but that could be headcanon. Like I haven't read the book, so maybe that's you know, they talk about nightclubs. Maybe in the older movie, which I don't fully remember. It came out in the 80s. Maybe there was like some clubbing type stuff in there. But that's where the tone was a little off, but I'm sure I'll get used to it. And as I dive into the books, maybe I have to rescind these comments. And for favorite things, like really love the CGI. I feel like there's some beautiful shots, and I am intrigued by the characters that they've put forth. So I think overall there's a good chance of a great story. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. This is definitely my Sunday night. Like I can't wait to watch it. Show right now. So definitely looking forward to the future. Um, yeah, and on that note, I guess we can end with just final comments. Anything we missed that you want to discuss, or anything you'd like to say before we end it?
Yeah, I would just say I would also look forward to this if it was going out on my Sunday evening, but it's actually going out on Sunday on Monday, Sunday or Monday, like right in the middle of the night. So that's very annoying. Which is also the reason why we are kind of recording had to record this a little bit later. Um, yeah, I think we covered the basics. Again, to anybody who's stuck with us, there was a lot of technical difficulties with this episode that really messed up a lot of maybe the flow of the discussion so far. But from the next episode onwards, we'll have the usual stable level of smooth as it is talk. So anyway, I would say I'm really curious if I don't know how many people will end up watching this because we're starting to like expand also in this Dune universe. But for anybody watching, if you came this far, we would love to hear your thoughts. If you want us to maybe put focus on something else when we cover the next episode, if you have any comments, theories, if we missed something, please correct us because I'm sure we did. We called Mother Superior like with 5 different titles, I think. So yeah, anyway, just let us know what you think and the theories and so on. And yeah, um, I think that's it on my side. Dee, thank you very much for hosting also for this because it really helped me out. To It anchored me with all this other photo and stuff. So everything. So thank you very much for that as well.
Yeah, and thanks for joining the stream. It's been a great conversation. I'm sure we'll have many more as well. This season continues. And just to echo what Strider said, if we missed anything or if there's anything you would like us to discuss, definitely put it in the comments. I'll be lurking around the comments as this video is released, and I'll try to interact as much as I can. And the team at Fellowship will as well. So we look forward to the next discussion. It will probably be sometime next week until we hammer out like a official day where we will release each episode. So look for that next week. Let us know your thoughts, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.